They don't really have a clue of what they're doing. They really, really, really don't. So it's to our advantage. And go after the low-hanging fruit. We can't leave with all these certifications no more over here. Mm-mm.
Mhm.
Joshua, tell me a little bit about you, looking sideways.
Hey, is my mic on?
Yes, you're looking sideways.
But you turn to the side.
Are you able to
Oh,
turn your
I'm
device?
multitasking. I'm sorry, ladies. Well, my name is Joshua Smith. I'm an Atlanta native, and right now I'm currently focusing on a lot of community work. Um, just raising awareness for our local community. Right now, I do a lot of publishing and printing through children's books and coloring books. And right now, just in the process of building a program to where that I could um, raise more awareness on mental health and suicide prevention and things of that nature. And so, just want to be more informed on, certain topics that are really prioritized in our community.
Oh, that just makes me proud, young man. Uh,
Thank you.
and we want to be able to support those who have the dream and the vision and want to give back. But we got to put our oxygen on
Right.
ourselves first before we can give back. So this is what today's webinar is about. I'm going to go
Okay.
ahead and get started. It's 12:03. Um, and I need to do some quick housekeeping before we get into this master class. Uh, all right, let me just go from the beginning. As I say, our slogan is we love creating millionaires. Most of you, again, it's all about collaboration in this community. So make sure you put your information in the chat and that we again continue to stay connected. Tomorrow's session, we're going to have my information session for the next cohort, which will start on March 4th. So those of you that have come through the program, please share with your community. Help them know that this is real. It's a lot of work, but you put it in, it works. As I say, the next cohort will start March 4th. It's a 18-week program, and then our guest speaker today is going to kick off her boot camp, Marketing to Corporations. That's going to start next week. And this was really one of the reasons of hosting this webinar because it's real. Put in the work, it's real. And Monique has the secret sauce to the Kentucky Fried Chicken, I like to say. And being able to literally position you as I'm positioning you on the government side on how to really present and market to corporations, which is a whole different flavor. Um, Also, for those of you who are not part of our school.com community, we encourage you to join. This is where we are connecting for those of you who have completed the program and even for newbies. We want to build a community that's going to support each of us as we enter into this entrepreneurship journey. With that being said, it is my pleasure to introduce Monique Carter and Les Lewis. Just to give you a brief background before they get into their fireside chat, I'm just going to sit back and watch on this one. Monique, I met, was it last year? Was it last year?
No, it was actually January of 2024. I had just retired.
Okay, look, time flies.
It does.
She just retired from Georgia Power, and then I heard what her role was at Georgia Power, and I convinced her, went out to I dated her. It's like we're going to, but where do we go?
Papa Do's.
Papa Do's. Um, and wanted her to provide a similar model as I'm doing with the government contracting, meaning walking businesses through the process of getting in front of these corporations through a 4-week boot camp. And she took it, and we did a pilot last year. Les was part of the pilot, and she's going to share what they did to get to her first contracts. But Les, how long ago, when did I meet you?
I was just thinking about that when you were talking about Monique. We met maybe right before you were about to retire from SBA. So when do you think that was?
That was probably 2014, 2015.
Yeah, well,
Wow.
back then, I think you were in the process of doing your paperwork, so you were meeting with people and introduce. But at the time, you were still there, and the guy that introduced us, oh God, I can't remember his name now, but we all went out to lunch over there in the cute area over by East Atlanta, I think it was.
Yes,
East Midtown, West Midtown.
it
It
was
was a while ago.
Kevin Mobley. Yes,
Yes, yes.
he was in IT.
The cybersecurity guy. Yes.
And he had not, he had his 8A, but he never was able to capitalize on it. And I don't think you had gotten your 8A at that time.
Mm-mm.
And you've gotten in the 8A, and you are getting ready to graduate this year or next year?
This year.
This
Yeah.
year. And I'm so proud of her.
Thank
She was able to leverage the game and win almost $36 million throughout that period in government contracts. So a lot of people don't think this is real or is tangible, or we don't even think that big, right? We just think for the small little crumbs, and we think we're able, we've made it. And I'm saying, no, the government has billions, and it is our tax dollars that they are awarding these contracts under. So for me, it's about circumventing the contracts. I mean, our tax dollars, and cutting out the middleman. So with that being said, I'm going to um, turn it over to Monique and Les, and you all can have this conversation with the GPI community on this journey and how you've gotten to where you are.
you.
All
Oh my
right?
God, so
Okay.
exciting.
Yes. Well, hey, everybody, and thanks so much. Big shout out to Paula for her GPI community and for putting me and Les on, in essence. And welcome, everybody. I see some people. I see one of my Bell sisters on the call. So, hey there. She's out in California, in Palm Desert, California. So, welcome. Glad you can make it. So Les and I just want to have a conversation to hear about her background, how she became very successful with government contracts, and then just a short period of time how she pivoted into corporate contracts. So Les, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into the industry.
So I'm originally from Chicago, but came here to Atlanta to attend Clark Atlanta University for undergraduate, and I went to Georgia Tech for graduate. Now, both of my degrees are in technology. The undergrad is in computer science, and I went to Tech for a Master's of Science in Management of Technology. So I like to call myself an undercover geek because I am a geek, but I try my best not to look and act like one, okay? And even a little bit of background right quick on my major. I really did not like my major in college, but I was scared to call home and tell my mama that I wanted to change to be a music executive because I was in school in the days of Outkast and Goody Mob coming out. I was like, I need to be working at LaFace Records, okay? But anyway, I graduated in computer science, and here we are. It was the best thing. Is when I graduated, my first job out of college was with Anderson Consulting, which today they are known as Accenture. This was when I graduated, it was prior to the whole Enron thing and then rebranding. So from the beginning of my career, I have been trained as a consultant and always walked on the path of supporting clients meet the needs of the challenges that they had. So in that computer science industry, I rode the Y2K wave. I know I'm dating myself now, but I was programming computers during the Y2K wave, the dot-com boom and bust. And then 9/11 happened and I got laid off. And a friend of mine had a small business that was supporting CDC with different projects. So I call him up and I'm like, hey, I got a whole team of computer programmers. We all got laid off. I can come help you staff up some of your projects. So I go over there. I was only supposed to work for the man for like 2 days a week for maybe 4 or 5 months, right? I ended up working for this guy for 10 years and took his company from, I think he had like 15 people at CDC to over that 10 years, I built him up to 125 people and ended up managing all the work. But also because
Wow.
of my technology background, I would go and actually help on emergency projects at CDC. So I've been through anthrax, Ebola, the first SARS, and the second SARS that most people didn't know about. Bird flu, swine flu, all of it. I was over there working with the CDC clients and programming databases on the back end to analyze all these diseases. And that's how I learned my current client site right now.
Okay, so tell us about your business, the name of your company, and what you all do, the different services that you provide.
Absolutely. So after I worked with that guy for 10 years, Accenture actually recruited me to come back for a little while, right? Because they wanted to penetrate CDC. The guy had sold his business, so I supported Accenture for a little while. Then they wanted me to start traveling, and it was at that moment that I said, hey, I'm going to start my own business because I'm doing everything for them that I could be doing for myself.
Yeah.
So CB Strat, I started in 2014 and we're a technology and management consulting business. We provide data analysis, health communications, as well as administrative logistics work in the public health space. So the Centers for Disease Control naturally is our largest client. And one of the other things that we do is large scale conference planning for them as well. And we've been doing that with them since I started the business in 2014.
Okay, cool, cool. So now, for people who are just getting started that may be on the call with us, talk to us a little bit about your biggest fear in the beginning and how did you get over it? Did you feel like, oh, I need to go back and get a corporate job? What were you thinking early on?
Yes. So, oh my gosh, I started the business in like March of 2014, and my strategy was I was reaching out to other small businesses and telling them, hey, I'll write your proposal for a reduced fee. And if the proposal wins, once it's awarded, I'm writing myself in as the program manager. That was my strategy in my head to get everything going. And I was doing good with that, right? But when the challenge came, or the fear rather factor came, when I'd say around October, most of the federal employees after Halloween, when that Halloween candy comes out, their mind goes to vacation and holidays. So my phone, y'all, went from blowing up to just straight bird chirping dead, okay? It was so bad. At one point, one day I called myself from my house phone. I called myself from my house phone to make sure the phone was still working. Sent myself an email. I was like, oh my God, it is like crazy quiet. But what most people don't understand is in the federal sector, there's a buying season too. So from like March to the end of September, it's hot, it's popping, right? But during the holidays, I'm telling you, after Halloween candy comes out, all the way up until after Martin Luther King Day, they on chill mode. So my
Okay.
biggest fear was like during that chill mode, I was afraid that it was done for and I needed to go back to the firm. But I made it past that Martin Luther King Day weekend and it was on and popping again, and it's been popping ever since.
Okay, okay. Love that story. Love that story. And good for people who are in the government space to understand there's a lull period there where your phone may not be ringing.
Yeah.
So yeah, need to understand that. Okay, so you talked about that challenge. Well, what challenges brought you to think you need to diversify your portfolio and maybe transition or diversify into the corporate space?
Yeah, it's crazy you would bring up diversifying because that was one of the biggest challenges too, was diversifying my portfolio. Because remember, I was telling you that I had been working around CDC since right after 9/11, but I was working with those other businesses. So the
Mm-hmm.
CDC clients knew who I was, and getting work after that first lull that I had of quiet, getting where they knew who I was. And so it was a comfort level in them dealing with me. I was getting work just based on word of mouth, right? So every time I would try to expand beyond the CDC bubble, some new major thing would happen that would suck me back in, right? Since we are focused on public health, every time there was an outbreak with something, or every time there was a disaster that impacted the global population, we
Mm-hmm.
were all hands on deck. Right before COVID, I was about to invest in hiring a BD person, a business development person to help me expand and diversify the portfolio. But COVID hit, and then we were all hands on deck then. So
Mm-hmm.
things have been happening that were good. My challenge was a bittersweet challenge because I was growing, but I was only growing across one client, 98%. And I'm not exaggerating, really. 98% of my work was all CDC and HHS. And I knew the whole time that that was potentially disastrous. And then um, January 21st of 2025 happened, where we had an inauguration. And the people that got inaugurated, like on January 23rd, 24th, like I started getting this bombardment of emails that were, I'll give you, they were saying specifically, this contract has been deemed a radical waste of the federal government's money. Please cease and
Wow.
desist, remove any employees. I was having to call employees across CDC like, oh my God, you got to pack up and go. And by the way, you're kind of fired, but I got to call you back and tell you about that later because I got to call this person. It was crazy. So my biggest fear, based on that bittersweet challenge, came true in a matter of hours after one inauguration.
Okay, so y'all heard that key point there. She said 98% of her business was with one organization. So that's something we also talk about in the boot camp, and we'll get to that. But you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket. It may be good. And like Les will tell you, she was riding that good wave of being with CDC until
Mhm.
something happened with the new administration coming in. So
Can I interject? Because I don't think I painted the real picture of the pain, okay?
come on now.
And let me tell you, before that inauguration, we were still growing across CDC. I had 35 full-time employees, and my employees are like scientists, biomedical engineers, PhD evaluation specialists. We working on zoonotic infectious diseases, stuff that start in animals and then, transfer to humans. Like we were like really going, okay? 35 very high level type employees. By the time they finished slashing, and especially that it was happening from somebody who probably didn't even understand public health, I was left with, I think I had 13 employees.
Mm.
So they cut over 50, about 50% of the company, y'all, in a matter of days. I was so upset. Let me can I say, we can talk. This is a fireside chat. I was so mad,
Bring the
y'all.
fire.
I done told y'all I'm from Chicago. So I was so mad. I wanted to like kick somebody in the shin where ain't no meat. So it really hurt, but I couldn't admit like who was I gonna get to kick in the shin? And
Right.
so I was just over here mad.
Okay, so when you experienced that and your staff being cut by a little more than 50% and everything, what led you to diversifying your portfolio? I know
Yeah,
that was the light bulb moment, but then what did you do?
I was devastated and lost like for some months. Like this real talk. For some months, I was around here like what just happened? It took a moment for me to get my equilibrium back in order first,
Hmm.
okay? Because it was like people were in a daze, including me myself, right? And I'm usually in my industry that go-to person that everybody calls with questions and what are you doing? How are you handling this? Not just at that point, but all throughout the industry. People, I have like I'm friendly. So everybody will talk to me and call me at whatever time. They were calling me and I was just as much in the gray as they were, okay? It was overwhelming. And then Paula reached out, right? Don't let Paula get mad. Paula get mad. She don't like cuss and stuff. She might for a little bit, just in the background, but she'll have a whole strategy with her anger. I'm just over here mad, wanting to kick and scream. So she was like, listen, I'm having a boot camp, okay? And I need you to join the boot camp. And I was like, okay. But pretty much Paula was my go-to person. So I only joined this boot camp. I don't even think at that point I really knew what it was about. I just said, okay. She sent me the email and I just registered. Again, y'all got to remember my head is in a fog. And at this point, I'm just doing what my go-to person told me to do. That's how I ended up in that boot camp.
Okay, okay. So you had many years on the government side. You went through this major blow to your company with the CDC.
Mhm.
So talk to us a little bit about your boot camp experience.
Oh my God. So, like I said, at first I didn't even really know what to expect. It was like
Right.
marketing to the commercial space, which I knew a long time ago I needed to do, but my head was so buried in federal, it just was so far-fetched and seemed so daunting to me that it just seemed so hard. So again, at first I was just there. And let me tell y'all, in like maybe the first 15 minutes of the very first session, I was like, oh, wait, what? I was already getting information that I hadn't heard before, just like right after the whole introduction. So it immediately kind of changed my tune to I'm just kind of here because, my go-to person told me to be here. So, oh, wait a minute, where is my note? Let me go get my new good notepad so I can dedicate one for notes specifically for this. So let me tell, how many sessions did we have? Was it 6 or 4?
No, we had a total of four. Three, the fourth session was, which is the last week, was where you all presented to your companies, to the business, to corporations.
So
Like,
on those 3 sessions, I was all in. I was completely in tune. I was soaking up everything that they were saying. Even for the next, like after the first one, when I was like, oh, okay, I've been to in my years of being a consultant, I've been to hella boot camps, hella classes about do this, do that, program management, business sales, technology, but none of them were as real and plain language and immediately applicable, right? As this one. So the following sessions, I was on the line, had my lights on and the camera on. I'm like bright-eyed, bushy tail, like what we on today? That boot camp really changed the trajectory of me as a leader and my company because the last session, Monique brought in these amazing people from different organizations who were there to just listen to us present our company. And even before that, she helped with our presentations to make sure they were tidied up and ready to be presented, right? So I even took that very seriously and I showed up again. Y'all, I don't wear makeup. It took a long time for me to get this lipstick on and then not look crazy today, okay? But it's Friday. So I put lipstick on for y'all today. But on the day of the presentation, like I was done up. I had went and took my laptop to my actual office in Chambly, so it looked like I was somewhere. And that presentation landed me one of the most important conversations, follow-up conversations. I would say, I'm not kidding. Now I'm being really for real. That presentation got me a conversation with one of the leadership people at Southern Company. That was in April, and I just closed out or landed rather my first contract with Southern Company in January this year. So from
Yeah.
April to January, I fostered that relationship, went and visited with him, took a tour of the building, and now I've got 5 employees working at Southern Company managing their conference centers.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. So, if you all listen to some things that Les said, which are covered in the 4-week boot camp, and I have to tell y'all, after the first class, Les sent me an email. She's like, "Okay, hey, I've been to a whole lot of classes, but this is the truth." And like she said, it's relatable and it's something you can apply to your business immediately. And Les is one of the participants. We had 10 participants. She took it seriously. Like you saw that she took it seriously. She paid attention. She asked questions. She reached out to me in between sessions. When it came time to get her presentation together, she sent it to me. I put it out there for everybody to send their presentation, but I would say maybe 3, 4 of the 10 sent it to me. And Les took the advice that I gave. It didn't hurt. Presentation didn't need a whole lot of, critiquing, but she took the few tips that I gave her, and she delivered. She practiced. She took this serious. She practiced. Like, what were you walking around your kitchen practicing?
Yeah, listen. And again, I've been in this industry for a long time. I graduated college in '96 and been a consultant and giving presentations since way back then, okay? Yeah, I was so excited yet a little nervous about this presentation that I was pacing around the kitchen counter, like going through my slides, talking to myself. Well, my kids thought I was talking to myself, but I was just practicing, okay? Guess it kind of looked like I was, but let me tell you, I was really prepared. Oh, I think we got
Rosalind, can you mute yourself, please?
I'm so sorry.
Okay. Go ahead, Les.
Yeah, no, I was really preparing and I just wanted to first of all, let me go back a little bit and tell y'all my main goal too was not to embarrass Paula and or Monique. Okay. Every time Paula put me on or send me in a direction, I'm trying to show up. You don't never want to embarrass the people that has put you out in the space. So it was like based on that, I was like, I gotta nail this. And plus it was a different corporate culture. I knew I was going into a different type of corporate culture and presenting to these people than what I was used to on the federal side.
Yeah, and I just want to say about the people that you're presenting to, these are not just strangers that I picked off the street. These are actually people that I know, people that I consider friends, and they all gave, their personal cell phone numbers to every person that presented, their emails, and they followed up. And one of my friends at Southern Company reached out to me. He's like, "Monique, I need to talk to this lady. Can't remember her name. I can't find her email, but I know this is what her business did." And he told me, and I said, "I know who you're talking about. You're talking about CB Strat, Les Lewis." Connected them together, and the rest is history. So Les, do you want to share anything with us about that process of beginning to foster the relationship? Because I don't know if you all noticed on the flyer that Paula held up, the name of the course is Marketing to Corporations, Building Relationships, Not Marriages at First Sight. So a lot of people come into corporate contracting thinking that they're just going to walk in, "Hey, I got this amazing service product," and that you're going to get a contract. It does not happen like that. Very rarely it can. But normally it takes some time because it is about building those relationships because people are going to do business with people they know, like, and trust. So that's what Les did. And I just want her to talk a little bit about getting connected with Rodney and how that all went and how your business has been impacted.
Yeah, so we had after we got connected, we had at least 3 or 4 conversations over the phone, and they were all around different things. So the first time it was kind of like, remind me what your business does again, and then each conversation was kind of building on the last. And throughout those conversations, he was sharing some of the challenges that he was having, and he was like, I might have some potential work, but this is all happening between April and May, right? And he's like, well, I might have some potential work, but it's not the technical stuff that you've been doing, but you said you do the large scale conference plan. And he was like, this is managing our conference center. You don't even have to, plan the conferences. I was like, oh, we're all about it. I'm down for it, right? And so some time went by. Like I said, this was April and May, time went by. And I was just kind of following up with them, emailing, and then I also did, he didn't even ask for this, but I did like a capability statement. It was like really short, just specifically on our conference planning services, and sent that over to him to help, just to keep the line warm, right? And then in August, he invited me to come out and tour the corporate headquarters. I got a funny story for that too. Do we have time to tell y'all about that little tour?
Yep.
Look, on
They
the
need to
day,
know.
so again, on the day of the tour, y'all, I'm knowing that this is 2 different corporate cultures, from feds to commercial. I could just tell by the way I was engaging with him and how I was engaging with the people on the call during the day that we gave our original presentations. So anyway, he invites me out to come tour the building. And that morning, I'm in my closet, like, do I wear the ankle length pants with the flat shoes? Or should I wear the power suit that requires heels, right? So I was like, oh, girl, put on the heels. You'll be fine. You'll be walking for a little while and then finishing up the tour, like in the office, like having a conversation or something. Y'all, I was wrong and I was not fine. That man walked me so long and hard around. I felt like I had walked the entire Georgia Power grid, okay? My feet, when I got home, was on fire. Okay, a whole health hazard, trying to be cute. But I was looking good. It wasn't, let me not paint the wrong picture. There was some good shoes. So it wasn't like I was walking with the broke down lean on the heels. But yeah, I was holding it together. And the adrenaline of it all, my feet really weren't hurting right then. But when I got back home, they was like, Paya, what was you thinking? I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah. So dress, make sure you dress the part, wear comfortable shoes if you're
Yes.
going to tour a building.
Look, but it was so cool. And it was at that point, like the people that I met during that tour, how he and I were engaging during those hours. I was walking around, click clacking around there in them high heels. I could see right then that they were genuinely different and just genuinely wanted the work to be done and wanted to work with an organization that was going to treat the employees that were the contractors nice. And we had that in the bag because that's one of the biggest things. Being a consultant myself, I make sure that I treat my employees in a way that lets them know they have a corporate home. Because I'm used to being a consultant and out with the clients and not with my, corporate home back then when I was working for the other company. So I was like, oh, we can do that easily. But I fostered that relationship. And the holidays went by. And when they contacted me in December, they were like, hey, we're going to do the work. It's going to go by really fast. And then I received this email. What do you call the thing that I got?
Uh,
MSA.
Master Service Agreement.
Yeah. Now with the federal sector, you babysitting these relationships like this, it takes like 18 months at least, unless there's an emergency happening. But just out of the blue, I get this email from like a contracts person at Georgia Power in December, and it was like, please review and sign and ask for. I was like, I didn't know whether or not I should be excited because that doesn't come until after you've written a proposal and all of this stuff on the federal side. Y'all, I was so confused. I had to call Monique and say, hey, I don't know if I should be excited or not, but I received this in the email.
And I'm like, yes, ma'am, you should be excited.
Yeah, I didn't even know to like scream and jump at the moment, but that's how it happened. And when they sent that document, things started moving super fast. They even asked me, "Hey, write the scope of work of what you think that this work requires." And I was like, they put that in an email, but on the federal side, they can't ask you to write the scope of work. It's a conflict of interest, but things are different. And so, me trying to learn, I was nervous. Again, y'all pacing around the kitchen counter like they didn't put in the email asking me to write the scope of work. Okay. But then come to find out, it's just how it's done over there. So, it was a bit of a corporate culture learning curve, but it happened so fast from that email in December to January 17th is when our contract was off and
Mm,
rolling.
that's awesome. And so I see a question in the chat, Paula. For people who don't know what a master service agreement is, what it is it basically is putting all the contractual things into place. It doesn't guarantee your work, but it has everything in the place for you to when you start the work. So here's your payment terms, different things like that. And unless you can elaborate a little bit more, speaking more specifically to what your MSA contained, maybe how it differentiated from government. And then we're going to open it up for some questions from the audience.
Okay, so to explain it to a little bit more clear, people may have heard more of the term blanket purchase agreement, right? So it's kind of
Okay.
like an overarching contract, and then that client can add smaller contracts or task orders against that blanket purchase agreement. So that's what the master services agreement was. But y'all, I didn't even know one of the challenges, again, when we're looking at the two different corporate sectors, Fed and commercial, they're like, hey, send me a estimate of what you think the pricing should be for something like this. So I sent the estimate, but they moved so quickly that they took my estimate and added that before we could even talk and negotiate about it, added that to the thing. And I was like, oh my God, I just found out they want me to buy uniforms, which I hadn't put in the estimate. So I'm calling Monique like, oh my God, she took the estimate and put it in the BPA in the master services agreement. On the federal side, like there would have been no more conversation. This is what it is, and too bad you priced it wrong.
And
That's
she
on
was panicked, y'all. She
you.
was panicked, but I had to calm her. I'm like, just send them an email and explain what happened and you'll be fine. So she called me afterwards. She's like, girl, they were just like, okay, no problem.
I panicked for nothing, y'all. I mean, I was going through it, wasn't I, Monique? I was so
Yeah.
scared. I was like, oh my God, I gotta buy uniforms for like 5 people. And I didn't put it in the thing and blah, blah, blah. And she was like, just calm down. And I called that lady and she was like, oh, okay, well, just send me the updated one. And yeah, again, I'm looking at my phone like, what? All of that panicking I did for nothing. Completely different.
Completely
Um,
different. All
yeah.
right, so y'all heard a little bit of, we intertwined a little bit about the boot camp. You've heard about Les's journey and how the boot camp impacted her business. So who has some questions? If you, I don't know that I saw any in the chat, but if you want to take yourself off mute, we'll be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Yeah, I had a question, and thank you, Les and Monique, for giving this example. Um, I guess my question for Les is in regards to you working with these MSAs, right? Is this similar to like I don't want to say source to salt, but um, I guess like when a person has a sole like that sole contractor, right? Like it's that person, you're that one person that the company looks for to get the information. So they reach out to you directly. Can you give an example of a contract that you have with one of your clients? What that looks like? Is it multi-year? Just more of those details on how these like MSAs work.
Oh yeah, sure. So this one is for so the overall master services agreement didn't really have the actual dates in it as far as the period of performance, right? That was just an agreement that says, hey, we are engaged with CB Strat. If we have work that we want to deliver to you, we'll put it under this master services. But each project, if you will, is a smaller contract under that master services agreement. So I have the master services agreement, but the first task order or smaller contract was for us to provide the scope of work, which was to manage the facilities that they have all of their conferences in, which is a state-of-the-art facility. Oh my God, so impressive. Let me tell you, I've been through CDC, the Pentagon, the Department of Defense, all in DC, and you think when you looking at these rooms like, oh my God, it's so state of the art. No, ma'am. Go on the corporate side. They be spending money on like the latest and greatest. You know, the feds take a little longer to adopt. But back to your question, the contract was to manage their state of the art conference centers.
Okay.
That contract was made possible because we have that master services agreement, and it was the contract that had the period of performance where we have like one base year and then two option years for them to continue on with the work, unimpacted by like a gap, like having to redo the contract and everything like that. Does that help?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So the master service agreement was like the umbrella, and then the individual contract was, like you said, working with the
Yeah.
conferences. Okay, got
Which
it.
then, which now it puts me on the path. Is it tests or are those
Yeah.
your? Okay, so now it puts me on the path test to be able to now engage with other leadership as my employees are working over there. I just received a very welcoming text message from the guy that I started engaging with initially. He was like, I've heard nothing but good things about CB Strat, so let's connect and talk about getting more work. So it allows me the opportunity to be able to grow without having to go through that whole, excuse me, MSA process again.
And
Was it
so
a
what
long
we like,
process?
I'm sorry, go ahead, Tess.
Was that a long process, the MSA process to was it like a few months, or how was that for you?
Get the MSA.
Mm-hmm.
So I started talking to him in April. The MSA didn't happen until December, but that was
Mm,
over the multiple conversations that I was fostering the relationship through with him. But when
okay,
that MSA came, everything was moving really quickly.
nice. Got it. Thank you.
Hmm.
Anybody else have a question?
I had a question.
Yes,
Uh,
ma'am.
How long are you able to get other type of contracts under the MSA outside of the event planning?
Yes, because the scope of work for the event planning is specific to that one contract, but the master services agreement doesn't specify a scope of work, which is the beauty of it, because they can pass any work on to us that's within our areas of expertise, right? The master services agreement only says, hey, you are a vendor of Southern Company to provide professional services. So it's the individual contracts that come under it that have the scope of work, which details what we'll be doing. Now, to further expound on that, say for example, like right now we have that contract with the scope of work to manage the conference facilities, right? If they wanted us to hire somebody under that contract to go do data analysis, that's a completely different scope of work and would be outside of what we were obligated to do in that smaller contract. So in that instance, they would probably have to create yet another contract, but under that MSA for us to do that work because it's so vastly different that there wouldn't be a justification to just throw it on that contract.
Like a GSA schedule, somewhat sounds like.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
What is is the profit margins comparable to the government or more sometimes? Eh.
So I'm glad you asked that question because that's part of my learning curve. Again, with the whole estimate, remember they told me, yeah, kids, just give us a quick estimate. I provided them that estimate and she accepted it so quickly that I think I probably lowballed myself
Mhm.
using my federal pricing strategy.
Mhm.
So, but the thing is, it's okay because I just wanted to get my foot in the door. Now, I would never advise anybody, this is a disclaimer, family out here, okay? I would never advise anybody to go so low that you lose, okay? I did price it in a way where we were profitable, but it was profitable with like the most lean and fiscally responsible pricing structure that we would have used on the federal side when I should have done it a completely different way with them.
Okay, somebody had a question here, Les. They said, are you able to subcontract any of the individual contracts under the MSA? I think I understand what they're asking. Do you, or maybe they can come off mute to clarify that, JD Robinson.
Yes, what I'm asking is, excuse me, let's say you have this MSA and they want janitorial. I heard you say you have scientists and the likes. So are you able to subcontract to get a janitorial service in there?
Uh, I'm too new with them right now. I don't want to answer that. I can't.
I would say, so you heard, let's say that the MSA gives her professional services of what the services that CB Strat provides. If janitorial is not in her services, they are not going to necessarily, they're not even going to come to her and say, hey, Liz, can you provide us janitorial services? Because that's not what CB Strat does. They would go to a different company that provides that type of service. So in that example that you gave, I would lean more towards no, because they would tend to look to another supplier that provides janitorial services.
Because you had
Okay.
to hire those employees, correct? For the conference facilities. That wasn't something that you would have subcontracted out. You hired five FTEs to manage those facilities,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, they're my employees now. But given the fact that we planned and managed conferences across the country with different hotels and working deeply with the vendors, that fell right within our area of expertise. So, or at least close enough where I didn't have to contract that out.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yes, no
Monique,
problem.
is there an average profit margin on the corporate side that most small businesses tend to? And is that something that you also provide consultation for and pricing out projects on that side? Because again, the government is completely different, as Les has been able to share those experiences.
Yeah, so on the corporate side, I don't think that's something that is really discussed, the average, profit that each small business, large business, whatever is going to make. It all is based on the scope of work and your capabilities, your capacity as a company. And the companies, corporations aren't always looking for the lowest bidder. You could be the highest bidder and
Mhm.
still win an award, but they're looking at the overall big picture. You know, time, the amount of length of time you've been doing this. Are you one of the very few people that do the particular service or provide the particular product that they're looking for? So many things are taken into consideration. So I'm not sure how it works with the government, but with corporations, it is not always to the lowest bidder. it's overall what your company can provide. So make sure you keep that in mind and make sure you're showing in your proposals. Les, I don't think you had to go through a bid. I think yours was more of a sole source.
Yes.
But you want to make sure you, yes, yes, that's
Look
definitely.
at you. I'm over here taking notes. I'm still learning, okay?
Yeah, yeah. So you want to make sure you, and we talk about this in the boot camp, how you show the value that your company brings to these corporations. And you don't have to downplay yourself. Your price is the price. So you could lose out on certain bids, but like Les said, you don't want to go into it taking a loss just for the sake of doing business with Georgia Power or Grady Health Systems or Burns and McDonnell. These are all national and global companies that if you attend this boot camp, you'll be presenting to national and global companies like those that I just mentioned. We had about five different corporations on that you presented your company to. And again, these people were not just people I picked up off the street or pulled off of LinkedIn. These are people that I have many years long relationships with, and they're going to come through for me. So they're going to come through for you. And they love what they do. They're passionate about what they do.
So can we put relationships in the chat, everyone?
Yes.
And what's the payment? I mean, how quickly do they pay?
So, and Les can definitely talk about that. We talk about it in the class because we do have a contracts person come in during the boot camp to guide you along that process. But go ahead and share your experience, Les.
Yeah, I think so on the federal side, we're used to them paying small businesses rather quickly, like within a month of submitting so it's really less than 30 days on the Fed side if you're a small business that you get paid on your invoice. But when I was reading, I think it was like 180 or no, not when maybe 90 days they had in the master services agreement for payment on the invoice. And I negotiated, I said we wanted to change it to 30. They came back at 45, which was acceptable. So, and even that was a quick exchange, So they start probably around the 90-day time frame, but I think 45 is pretty standard in commercial.
And, everything in the contract, they are sending it to you, that master service agreement, so that you can review it and push back on things you need to push back on. They understand that they're working with a small business and you need your money. You need your money. You're not this big global company where you can be like, okay, we'll get that check from them eventually. They understand that. So be sure to push back. Don't say, oh, they said 90 days, so we got to try to figure out how to make this work because it's Georgia Power and we want to be on with them. No, ask for what you want and they'll negotiate it. So as Les showed, she was able to get it to 45 days.
Yeah, and they were very amenable. Like again, the corporate culture of dealing with them was so different than it is with the feds. It just, with the feds, it just is what it is. You messed up, too bad. We got it in email, do the work, right? Well, I won't say that about all of them, but generally, yeah, Paula, thank you. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I didn't want to say nothing too bad. I'm trying to be politically correct, like that just slipped out. But that's how it is. And the culture is very black and white. And I don't mean black, white people. I mean, it's very black and white to the letter of what's on the paper and everything. But Georgia Power, they were like willing to discuss, hear what I meant, and quickly respond. So
Yeah. That's pretty good because in the government that could take a while to even get that response. So,
yeah.
and are you sound like a contracting officer or a court like you have on the government side, or what do they call them?
A contract specialist, was he?
Yeah, they have a contract specialist that she would work with. on the contract part, but really the person that brought her on to do the business will be her contact person. Unless I don't think we got into you talking about how you met with the supplier inclusion team, how you made a presentation to them so that they can understand her business. Because again, just want to point out, generally in the normal process of things, you meet the supplier inclusion specialist, and then it's up to them to put you in touch with the business unit. When you take the 4-week boot camp, I skip that part and I put you right in touch with the decision makers. So Les already met with the decision makers. So we backtracked and let her meet with the supplier inclusion team so she can develop a relationship with them as well. And good things came out of that. I think they might be inviting her to their mentorship program. So talk a little bit about that, Les. We got a few minutes.
Okay, so again, I guess my path was flipped. I didn't even realize that until you just said it. But when I was on that tour that day of the facility, the leadership guy that I was walking, well, there were two people that were hosting me that day. And during that walk, we ran into the lady who manages the overall diversity and inclusion team. So I was able to meet her right then, walking on that time, and they were just like, "Hey, we think that you need to schedule some time for CB Strat to present to your team." And she was like, "Okay." Now, again, in my mind, my feet might have been just about getting ready to hurt right there too. But in my mind, remember, I'm used to the federal sector, and something like that would have been said, and cards would have been exchanged, and you would have never heard from the person again, no matter how many times you emailed them until you saw them again at some random conference, and hunted them down. Like, yeah, I remember. But I thought I was gonna have to email her. I had gotten home. She had already emailed me first to get it on the schedule and had CC'd her team. And so it was a good conversation and a good presentation. And they invited me, like I said, to be a part of the next cohort of their mentor protege team. So they'll assign me with someone internal to the Southern company who will help me navigate growing across the organization, which is also unheard of. What?
Yes,
Help me.
that's how it works at these corporations. And again, by attending a boot camp, you're going to get the keys to be able to engage successfully and have a story like Les.
Yeah, it's just saying yes, just saying yes. And we got a couple of minutes, and I want to go back to again recap, making sure that I did put the link in the chat. I don't know if you all clearly are hearing what they're saying. They're cutting through all the minutia because corporate contracts aren't advertised. They don't have to. And it's all based on relationships and trust. So, just like me and working with the SBA programs and those applications, they know that if my hand has touched it, then it's good. And it's the same thing with Monique. So, I thank you, Monique and Les, for both saying yes to my crazy idea and making it work and getting the end results. So again, the class is going to start next Thursday. It's from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern time. She's going to walk you through, and with the fourth session where you actually are doing in the government's language a capabilities briefing, where you are actually going to be presenting with the end user. You're going to the table. Again, tomorrow, not the 14th, tomorrow I have the information session. Make sure, share it, get everyone engaged. We want to take it all. We want it all. And as Les has demonstrated, you want to have a good balance of both. You don't want all your eggs in the government. You don't want all your eggs in the commercial. So being able to have that that balance is excellent. Um, With Monique and Les, would you all like to close with some words of wisdom? And I'm so proud of you, Les,
Thank
from when
you.
I met you just out there, and she's taken that ball and ran with it.
Thank you. I do have something I want to close with, if you don't mind. I did. I was just when you were talking and showing the flyers, it hit me just only right then in real time. I was like, wow, this was the best investment that I made in myself, and the organization. Better than hiring any BD business development person, better than me going to yet another program management leadership class or conference, anything. This boot camp caught me at a time in my life and my career where things were just unbelievably hectic. And just I was in a space where I couldn't understand what reality was in the moment. Polly, you and if any of you, even if you're not working in the federal government right now, all sectors have changed and been impacted recently with just different things that have change the way corporations do business or are required to do business. But at the
Mhm.
onset of it, I have to tell you, as strong as I am, I was so lost in a gray space. But when I saw, I was like, wow, do it, just saying yes to something I didn't know. I was saying what it was I was saying yes to, taking it seriously, it turned into the greatest investment ever. And I stand by those words. That's for real. Real
Yeah,
talk.
I see it all in
Thank
your
you so,
face.
thank you
You
so
got a different,
much.
you got a
Well,
different shine from what when we were eating and we went out to dinner the last time. So I am
now
so
Les and
happy.
I are connected for life.
Yes, and Monique, thank you again for doing what you're doing and understanding the need is so much needed right now more than ever
Mm-hmm.
because the harm is going to hurt our communities the most. So you all get in the game. Did you all enjoy this webinar? It was wonderful. Thank you for sharing your story.
Uh, y'all, let me say to y'all though, I am so not good at talking and trying to check the chats and all, but I see my name popping up in it. I hope it's all good stuff,
Yeah.
whatever y'all saying. I've enjoyed being here and I hope that what I shared was helpful. I'm so sorry.
They love you, Les. They love your realness. They thank
I
you for
should be
your
a comedian.
testimony and sharing your story. You've inspired them. So that was all the words that were in the chat. I recapped it for you.
Okay, thank you, thank you. I'm gonna be
They
in
said you should be a comedian as well. I
Oh
I
yeah.
agree.
did catch that one.
I
I,
agree.
I'm speaking on I'm joining you for one of the boot camp classes too, right?
Yes, Les will be a featured guest week 2 of the boot camp. So come on so you can get the real nitty gritty.
And,
Okay. I
and I
hope
don't
I
know
see
about
some
that.
of y'all there.
I don't know about that impersonation you did of Paula over there, but
Leslie, I need you to take this class. We having a boot camp, okay? They done made me mad.
all right. Thank you, ladies. Have a wonderful weekend,
Thank
and
you, everybody.
hopefully you all are jumping in on this. Let's not wait. We have no time to waste. We need the revenue. We need to get in the game. So thank you again, Monique. Thank you, Les.
All
And
right,
you are a comedian.
I didn't mean to be. I was just sharing.
Your side job. That's your side job over there. All
Y'all
right,
have a good
everyone.
weekend. Thank
Have
you,
a good
everybody, for
weekend.
joining us.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.